Welcome to The Cosmic Codex, exploring our science fiction universe. With science fiction author Brian Scott Pauls. AI voiceover created using MicMonster.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brian. This is the Cosmic Codex podcast episode for August 20, 2026. Starting with what's in the comments, Eric responded to my article, Must Read Books Acquires Analog, Asimovs, and FNSF, saying, I have been a loyal subscriber of Asimov since 1978. Asimov's science fiction magazine, under the new owners, has been 2 to 3 weeks late in publishing the May, June, and July, August issues. They can't afford to lose writers like Christine Catherine Rusch, who will no longer be publishing with them. That does not bode well. Customer service does not exist. I have canceled my subscription. Eric, first of all, thanks for making this comment. This is something that I missed while I was on hiatus, and so I had to look into it and provide some background and context for the listeners. So first of all, what caused the concern among Rusch and other authors was the fact that the new owner of Asimov's Analog and FNSF had added several questionable clauses to their contract. One was a moral rights waiver, which would allow them to alter or run a story without author consent. The second was a subsidiary rights clause, basically claiming prerogative to merchandising, performance, and adaptation rights. The author would get a 50% pro rata share of net revenues after deductions. What that means is, first of all, the company would determine what the deductions are, and they're defined very broadly in the contract, in this original contract. Secondly, they would then determine what net revenue was after all of those deductions, and then an author would receive a pro rata share, meaning if there were a number of authors in the magazine, based on how much content each of them created, it would determine their share, and they would get that share of the 50%. Now, this is not necessarily in principle, a problematic clause, but as they say, the devils are in the details. And in this case, the terms were so vague and broad that a lot of authors had concerns about how their share would diminish at each tier until, whatever was left would maybe not even be worth it. There was also no reversion clause in the contract, which meant there was no indicator as to when like if the company chose not to publish a story, when did the rights revert to the author? If they didn't publish it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, theoretically they could hold on to the rights forever because there was no reversion clause in the event that they didn't publish. There was also a morals clause which said a publisher can unpublish disreputable work. Really something to consider carefully in the age of online publishing. Disreputable is at the publisher's discretion in terms of what they define as disreputable, which just means if something became controversial, instead of standing behind their authors, they would have every right to pull that story from publication. So the first thing that happened after they published this, other than authors deciding to discontinue work with Asimov's or Analog or FNSF, is that a online site called Submission Grinder actually delisted one or more of the magazines, in that they would no longer list them on the website. And Submission Grinder is a tool used by a lot of paid writers to track what magazines they've submitted their submissions to, where they were at in the process, what happened, were they accepted, rejected, et cetera. It's widely used. And so it's kind of a big deal when Submission Grinder said they weren't going to carry these three magazines anymore. The Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association got involved. They did some contract negotiations directly with the publisher. The publisher made some improvements, which SIFWA ultimately accepted, but author concerns about negotiation remain. They claim that the company promised to negotiate with them, but didn't actually follow through. So this is a sad development for me, and Eric, thanks for bringing our attention to it. These are some of the remaining magazines from the pulp era. Asimov's not so much, but definitely Analog, which used to be Astounding, and Fantasy and Science, the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. I mean, these are like the old gray ladies of the science fiction publishing world, and now this is really a blow to them. And I from all everything that I can hear and read, the editors of the magazines are still doing a great job, but the issue is with the concerns, and the issue is with the new ownership. And when you understand that science fiction publishing has had a long history, going back almost 100 years or more, of writers being taken advantage of by science fiction magazine publishers, it's not a good look. If anyone from Must Read, the owner of these magazines, would like to come on the Cosmic Codex and do an interview with me about it, I'd love to hear their side of the story. Keep in mind, everything that I've said here is just based on what I've found in the press. These are claims being made by authors, in some cases by SIFWA or Submission Grinder, and definitely would welcome Must Reads to provide their perspective on this. So it's been 16 months since my last update on my first science fiction collection, Probability Amplitudes. And in that article, which was in May, I published in May of 2025, I had the observation that writing a book is all about getting the words out. But as I've detailed elsewhere recently on the Cosmic Codex, I had a life event in terms of losing my job. I had to pivot and figure out what I was going to do to keep bringing money in for my family. And hence, I put the newsletter and my writing and the podcast on hiatus. But I returned to working on my writing on June 4th. And I'm pleased to say that the novella, my first novella that I'm working on to include in the collection, I haven't completed the novella, but I have completed 21,197 words of what I originally intended to just be 20,000 words. The fact of the matter is that when I got to the length that I originally thought it would be, as a finished story, it did not do justice to the theme or to the characters. And so I am having to go back and expand in areas to turn it into the story that I see in my head. It is probably the most complicated story I've attempted to tell. It's a meditation on totalitarianism, seen through the framework that you can find in Hannah Arendt's The Origins of Totalitarianism from 1951. And in addition to all of that, it has to be an entertaining science fiction story. So there are a lot of moving parts there, and this is something I haven't done before. I'm doing my best to put them all together in a way that presents the story that I see in my imagination and provides a good product that somebody would actually want to sit down and not only read, but reread and share with other people. The good news is that those extra 1,197 words have pushed me past 55% of the required writing for probability amplitudes now being in first draft status, leaving 41% in the new material required category. So 41% is still a lot, but I'm well over halfway, and that is good news from my perspective. I've also been working on my publishing strategy for the book. So my pre-editing target at this point is 160,000 words. This is because I want to be able to cut up to 25% to hit my post-editing target of 120,000 words, which would be an estimated page count of about 500 pages. And that's significant because it's the upper limit of the preferred length of a Kindle SF collection, according to a analytics company that I use called K-Lytics in a report from 2023. I also want to make the Cosmic Codex a free gift to subscribers. To do that and to also sell it on as a Kindle version requires that I come up with two versions. One would be a free subscriber edition of about 400 pages, and then an expanded edition of about 500 pages. So that means my pre-editing draft would be 160,000 words, the expanded edition 120,000 words, and the free subscription edition 90,000 words, which means that the free subscription would still be a substantial volume, delivering significant value to my readers. I want to thank all of you who have followed me and continue to follow me on this journey. I've looked at the numbers, and a lot of you have picked up opening and reading the Cosmic Codex, even though I was away for over a year, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much. Let's not forget Club Codex. If you enjoy reading and discussing award-winning science fiction, then you can join me in Club Codex this month to discuss Arboreality by Rebecca Campbell, winner of the Ursula K. Le Guin Prize for Fiction. If you want to participate, just go to thecosmiccodex.com, sign up for a free subscription, and then in the most current article, just scroll down to where I discuss the Cosmic Codex selection. You'll find it right under the text of the article, and just click the button that says discussion thread, and you will be in the chat, and you can read what I think, and you can post your own thoughts. I would love to interact with you. So don't forget to leave a comment, and have a great week, everyone. Take care.
Artificial intelligence tools performed multiple tasks in the creation and publication of this podcast. Please share your thoughts about this episode by commenting online in the original article at thecosmiccodex.com. You can also find source links in the online text. Don't miss an article. Subscribe today to the Cosmic Codex email newsletter at thecosmiccodex.com. Thank you for listening.